The night was a tumult of chaos and sorrow. A vicious storm roared through the small rural town, unleashing torrents of rain that battered the cracked earth and drenched the deserted streets. Powerful winds howled through the skeletal remains of leafless trees, whipping debris across the landscape in wild arcs of destruction. Amid the cacophony of nature's wrath, lightning forked the blackened sky, illuminating for brief, jagged moments a scene of desolation and despair. In the midst of this maelstrom wandered a lone stray dog, its coat matted and dulled by countless nights spent in misery. Once known by another name long lost to memory, the dog had come to be known as Valor, a name earned by the silent strength it carried in its eyes and the unyielding determination etched into every sinew of its battered frame. Valor's ribs protruded beneath its scruffy fur, and a shallow limp betrayed the weight of old wounds. Abandoned, malnourished, and alone, the dog trudged through the soaked alleys, fighting to survive even as the storm threatened to overwhelm every hope for warmth and safety. The wind carried more than just the chill of winter. It carried whispers of forgotten sorrows. In the midst of its aimless wanderings, Valor's keen ears caught a sound that cut through the relentless roar of the tempest, a weak, desperate cry, soft yet piercing in its fragility, drawn irresistibly. Toward the plaintive sound, Valor's instincts surged like an ember reignited. Following the muffled cries through the deluge, the stray dog arrived at the edge of an old abandoned farmhouse, where the wind seemed to sigh with melancholy. There, beneath the relentless downpour and obscured by shadows, lay a small wooden crate weathered by time and the elements, its rough-hewn planks barely holding together. Inside the crate, swaddled in a tattered blanket that had long since lost its color, was an infant barely clinging to life. The newborn's tiny body shivered violently with cold, each breath shallow and labored as it fought the overwhelming chill of the storm. The baby, whose name would later be called Elias, was hidden away as if cast aside by fate itself, abandoned. In a moment of cruel neglect, Valor, despite its own fragile state and the scars of endless hardship, felt a stirring deep within a primal instinct to protect that transcended the boundaries of its own suffering. With careful determination, the dog inched closer. Every step was a battle against fatigue, but the fragile cry of the child spurred Valor onward. In that moment, the stray dog became more than a creature fighting for its own survival. It transformed into a guardian, driven by an overwhelming need to shield another from the cold jaws of death. Without hesitation, Valor began a desperate quest. Gently, with a tenderness that belied its own desperate state, the dog lowered its head and nudged the wooden crate with its snout. The container, though small and unassuming, held within it a spark of life that Valor vowed to defend at any cost. Battling against the forceful winds and the torrential rain, the determined stray dragged the crate across the muddy road. Every movement was an act of defiance against a world that had long turned its back on the vulnerable. As cars occasionally zoomed by, their headlights momentarily piercing the gloom, Valor would bark and howl with all the force it could muster. The sound, a raw, anguished plea carried on the wind, sought the attention of any soul willing to break through the storm's merciless fury. The dog's barks were not merely cries into the void. They were a declaration of purpose, a promise that this little life would not be lost to the night. Valor lay beside the crate in the center of the road, its own shivering body pressed close to the fragile infant. The dog's form became a living shield against the biting cold, a steadfast bulwark in the face of the storm's cruelty. Every gust of wind, every icy droplet of rain that fell, was met by the unwavering presence of Valor, an embodiment of the fierce, unconditional love that sometimes appears in the most unexpected of places. As dawn began to break, the relentless darkness gave way to a tentative light. The storm, though still echoing its fury in the distance, started to subside, and with it came a glimmer of hope. It was in these fragile moments of early morning that a compassionate soul, drawn by the faint sounds of distress, emerged from a modest farmhouse at the edge of the town. Her name was Lydia, a woman whose gentle heart and quiet strength had earned her a reputation as a beacon of hope for those in need. Lydia had been awakened by a series of soft, insistent barks and the desperate whimpers of a tiny life. Wrapped in her worn but warm coat, she stepped outside into the lingering chill of the post-storm air. The sight that met her eyes was nothing short of miraculous. A stray dog, drenched and shivering, curled protectively around a small wooden crate placed in the middle of the road. As she approached, the truth of the situation unfolded before her. Inside the crate lay a newborn child, cold, weak, and clinging to life by a thread. Overwhelmed by a surge of empathy and gratitude, Lydia knelt beside the pair. Her eyes glistened with tears as she gently lifted the child from its meager enclosure, cradling Elias as if the infant were the most precious treasure in the world. In that tender moment, Lydia understood that Vala's selfless act had saved not only a life, but also ignited a spark of hope, a spark that could mend broken hearts and build new beginnings. Without a moment's hesitation, Lydia dialed emergency services. Every word she spoke was laced with urgency and care, urging for immediate help not just for the child, but for the brave creature that had risked everything. The police, the paramedics, and community volunteers arrived swiftly, and as the storm's fury finally began to wane, the rescue operation unfolded with the careful precision of a well-practiced miracle. In the days that followed, the hospital became a sanctuary where both Elias and Vala received the care they desperately needed. Under the vigilant eyes of dedicated doctors and compassionate nurses, the child slowly began to recover from the effects of cold and neglect, while Vala's wounds, though deep and many, were tended to with a kindness that reflected the town's newfound reverence for the stray dog's heroism. Lydia, unable to shake the profound connection that had formed on that fateful night, decided to take both Elias and Vala into her home. What began as a temporary fostering arrangement soon blossomed into an unbreakable bond, a family united not by blood, but by the undeniable threads of loyalty, love, and shared destiny. In every gesture and every look, the rescue story became a living testament to the transformative power of compassion. As Elias grew stronger with each passing day, Vala remained his steadfast guardian. The dog would often be seen pacing by the window, ever watchful, as if on silent patrol to ensure that no harm would come to the child he had chosen to protect. Their days were filled with quiet moments of connection, a gentle pat on Vala's head, a shared look of understanding between a child and a creature that had transcended its own pain to embrace a new purpose. The bond between Elias and Vala was soon tested by another critical moment, an event that would further cement the stray dog's legendary status in the community. One crisp autumn afternoon, when the town was still recovering from the scars of the previous night's storm, a new threat emerged. Elias, now a curious toddler with wide, trusting eyes, wandered near the edge of a busy intersection as a careless driver sped through the streets. In a heartbeat, the precarious situation escalated into a dangerous emergency. Vala, ever the vigilant guardian, sensed the impending peril. With a sudden burst of energy and a bellowing growl, the dog lunged forward, positioning himself between Elias and the oncoming vehicle. The driver, startled by the sudden presence of the brave dog, slammed on the brakes, but not before a close call that left the entire community gasping in collective relief. In that critical instant, Vala's swift action had prevented what could have been a tragedy. The news of Vala's courage spread quickly, igniting a wave of admiration that rippled through the small town. Neighbors who had once passed by without a second glance now spoke of the stray dog with reverence. Stories were shared in hushed tones at local gatherings, and soon, Vala's name became synonymous with hope and selflessness. A local legend was born, a tale of a dog who, against all odds, had sacrificed its own comfort for the sake of a child. As the seasons turned and time wove its gentle tapestry, Lydia's home became a haven of love and healing. The bond between Elias and Vala only deepened with the passing years. Lydia, whose initial act of rescue had saved 2 lives that stormy night, made the life-changing decision to formally adopt both Elias and Vala. With legal papers signed and hearts full of gratitude, the trio embarked on a journey together, a journey that transformed them from a chance encounter on a stormy night into a permanent family united by fate and forged by adversity. The years that followed were marked by quiet triumphs and shared moments of joy. Elias, once a fragile infant on the brink of death, grew into a vibrant child whose laughter filled the rooms of Lydia's home. His days were spent exploring the fields that bordered the town, his spirit as free as the wind that had carried his cries that fateful night. Always by his side was Vala, now older and bearing the gentle marks of time. The dog's eyes, though clouded with age, shone with the same fierce determination and unwavering love that had saved a life on that stormy night. As the community embraced the remarkable story of the brave dog and the rescued child, a local project was born, a community center dedicated to the welfare of abandoned children and animals alike. Here, the legacy of Vala's heroics was celebrated in every mural, every plaque, and every whispered story shared between generations. The center, a testament to the transformative power of compassion, became a beacon of hope for those in need, a living reminder that even in the darkest moments, the smallest acts of kindness could light the way toward a brighter future. In the gentle glow of a late summer afternoon, a scene unfolded that perfectly captured the enduring spirit of their story. Elias, now a little older with the spark of youthful curiosity still dancing in his eyes, sat beneath an ancient oak tree at the community center. Next to him lay Vala, his aging form resting peacefully in the dappled sunlight. The dog's once tattered coat had been replaced by a groomed, dignified fur, yet the scars of his past served as quiet memorials to his heroic deeds. Children played in the background, their laughter mingling with the rustling of leaves, a symphony of life and renewal. Lydia, ever the nurturing soul, walked by with a warm smile, pausing to gently ruffle Elias's hair as he recounted the legend of his loyal guardian to a captivated group of young listeners. "This," he said with earnest conviction, "is the story of Vala the dog, who loved without limits, who fought against the storms of life to save me, and who taught us all that true bravery comes from the heart." As dusk settled over the community center and the first stars began to twinkle in the twilight sky, the legacy of that fateful night remained alive in every whispered word and every tear of gratitude shed by those who had witnessed the miracle. The storm had long passed, but its echoes lived on in the unbreakable bond between a rescued child and the dog who had risked everything to save him. In the gentle unfolding of time, Lydia's family, now complete and unyielding, became a symbol of hope and redemption. Vala, whose journey from a broken stray to a local hero had defied every bleak prediction, continued to watch over Elias with the same unwavering loyalty. The community center, a legacy of that unforgettable night, thrived as a sanctuary for the forgotten and the overlooked. The legacy of Vala and Elias was not merely inscribed in the annals of the town's history, but was woven into the very fabric of its identity. Parents recounted the tale to their children, instilling in them the virtues of compassion, bravery, and the belief that even in the darkest hours, a single act of kindness could spark a revolution of hope. The story of the stormy night, the abandoned infant, and the selfless stray dog had grown into a timeless parable, a beacon for those who dared to believe in the redemptive power of love. Years later, during a celebration held at the community center, a mural was unveiled that immortalized the moment when destiny intertwined the lives of three souls. The painting depicted the ferocity of the storm, the fragile infant cradled in the wooden crate, and at the center of it all, Vala standing guard with a noble gaze. The mural's message was clear. No matter how cold or cruel the world may seem, love has the power to heal, unite, and transform. In one final uplifting scene, Elias, now a young adolescent with the resilience of one who had weathered unimaginable hardships, stood beside Vala on the steps of the community center. Together, They looked out over the town that had once been a canvas of despair, but had since become a symbol of rebirth. Lydia joined them, her eyes reflecting the hope that had carried them through every trial. With soft smiles and gentle laughter, the trio embraced the future, knowing that their shared journey was a testament to the indomitable human and animal spirit. The story of that stormy night, the courageous stray dog, and the vulnerable infant had come full circle. It was now a legacy of heroism, of sacrifice, and of a love so profound that it defied the odds. And as the twilight deepened into a peaceful night, the community center glowed softly with the light of countless lives transformed, a shining beacon for all who believed that even in the midst of life's fiercest storms, hope would always find a way to break through. In the quiet hours that followed, when the world was hushed and the memories of that fateful night were etched indelibly into the hearts of every townsperson, one truth remained undeniable. Valor's legacy was not defined solely by his act of heroism, but by the profound reminder that every creature, no matter how broken or battered, has the capacity to love fiercely and selflessly. It was in that truth, the enduring spirit of compassion, that the community found solace and strength. And so, as seasons turned and new challenges arose, the story of Valor, Elias, and Lydia continued to inspire, a testament to the transformative power of a single, selfless act. In every whispered prayer, every shared smile, and every act of kindness, the legacy of that unforgettable night lived on, a beacon of light in a world that, even at its darkest, could always be touched by the warmth of love. In a final, heartening scene set years after the storm, the community center now served as more than just a shelter. It was a home, a museum, and a living archive of hope. New stories were written every day, inspired by the memory of a stray dog named Valor and a child named Elias, whose lives had been forever intertwined by fate. Children played in the sunlit courtyard, their laughter mingling with the gentle rustling of leaves, as community volunteers worked tirelessly to ensure that no one would ever feel abandoned again. The mural of Valor stood as a silent guardian over the center, a daily reminder that courage, loyalty, and compassion were the true pillars upon which the community was built. In every smile, in every act of kindness, and in every life saved, the promise of tomorrow was renewed. The legacy of that stormy night, the heroic deeds of a stray dog, the miraculous rescue of an abandoned infant, and the compassionate heart of a woman named Lydia continued to light the way for generations to come. And so, in the fading light of another gentle evening, as the stars began to shimmer overhead, the town rested peacefully, forever changed by a night of profound sorrow turned into an everlasting celebration of love, resilience, and the undeniable power of compassion.